It's time for me to give you guys some mystery thriller book recs for the fall season. I love reading thrillers all throughout the year, but I feel like this year I haven't read nearly as many, and I know that I'm going to hop back into reading thrillers even more just because it's getting to cozy season. So yeah, let me share all of these with you guys. There are tons of diverse recs in here as well. I feel like I see a lot of the same types of thrillers where people will just be like, oh my god, you have to read this book, and it's like literally a book by Freida McFadden, which again, I love Freida McFadden's writing. Never Lie is probably my favorite book of hers, but I also feel like there are a ton of other thrillers that you can grab and like absolutely be obsessed with. So I don't have any books with Freida McFadden in this stack, but just know I've read so many of her books. The Locked Door, Never Lie, like I think I've read like 6, 7, 8, like I've read so many of her books. So again, I feel like Freida McFadden's books are great for new readers that are in like getting into thrillers. But if you're looking at this video, you're probably someone who continues to read thrillers on like a regular basis. So excited to show you guys all these books. Let's just get into it. I have a stack here, but I also am going to show you guys my books that are on my TBR to read in fall for like thrillers. And then I also have another video coming soon where I'm going to share books that are like cozy fall vibes. Just because I know that you guys love fall just as much as I do. The first book that I have to recommend is The Wife Before. This is the book that I would say if you aren't going to read any of these books in this stack, read this one. I'm someone who's obsessed with romance books. Like I'm just a big romance girly. And anytime I can find a story that has like romance in it, or at least like some subplot of romance along with like a thriller mystery aspect, I'm going to eat it up. This book right here is about a girl who is kind of down on her luck, and she's really just had a tough time like getting her life together. Just she's working this job, but it's like kind of not even like secure. She ends up meeting this guy while she's there, and he kind of like whisks her away. Comes to find out he had a wife before meeting her, and that wife is dead. So the main character in this is trying to figure out like, is this guy like sketchy? Like, you know, this past that he has with this wife, he doesn't really like to talk about her a lot. Like, what's the deal? And there's a whole story behind this that I feel like you will not guess. I really love this one. Shanora Williams is an author who I found that like most of her books I'm obsessed with. I read Beautiful Broken Love, which is a romance, loved it, rated 5 stars. Read this book, and it's probably gonna be my favorite thriller of the entire year. Love this book, and it's also by her. And I am gonna be reading Vicious Bond soon, which is a fantasy. She literally writes like every single genre, which is so cool. She's just a great writer. So definitely recommend this, and this is by a Black author. I also want to recommend Gray After Dark. This is a book that I haven't really heard a lot of people talk about, but I remember when I read it, I think that this was my favorite, or like one of my favorite thrillers from last year that I really loved. It's about this girl. She ends up getting kind of like lost in the woods, and I want to make sure I don't spoil anything. Yes, she ends up getting kidnapped after she gets like kind of lost in the woods. I guess, yeah, she's kind of lost. She gets kidnapped. And on the back it says, can she outwit her captors and survive the wilderness before it's too late? So this pulse-pounding story is basically her trying to figure out how to get back to like civilization, and the captors that she has are wild. They're just unwell. They're absolutely unwell. This is such a good thriller. It starts off a smidge slow, like, but do not let that keep you from reading it. I feel like with thrillers, I'm the type where I've never rated a thriller 5 stars, and I think it's because it's hard to connect with the characters because I assume that everyone's a villain, right? Like, I don't know if the main character is even like someone I can believe or trust. So it's hard for me to rate a story 5 stars when I can't connect with the main character in the same way that I would like a contemporary romance or contemporary fiction. But this one was up there. I rated this so highly. I think I rated like 4.5 out of 5 stars, but I still am on the hunt for a 5-star thriller. So comment below some of your favorite thrillers. I would love to figure out what they are. I also read Monday's Not Coming. This is a book that will absolutely break your heart. It is like a thriller. It's more like a mystery, but it's one of those that's like really sad because it's like real. It really focuses on how there are so many Black children who've been kidnapped and who are missing, who have been, you know, just misplaced, and no one really cares to figure out where they're at. And it is a story where the main character, her best friend, comes up missing. She like stops going to school, and so she's like, I need to figure out where she's at. She is like, no one's noticed, you know, that she's gone. And so yeah, this is a really good story. It will definitely make you cry. And Tiffany D. Jackson is one of those authors that I feel like always has hard-hitting stories, but she does write young adult books. I will say though that her books give less young adult. Like, they don't give, like, they kind of feel like a mix between a mystery and like contemporary fiction, because the stories that she like talks about are true. Like, they're like real things that happen in real life, and it like really gets you thinking. And another book, this is kind of similar to Grey After Dark, but it's called The Final Scene. I will link all these books below if you guys want to pick them up. But this book right here is one I really enjoyed. This is a book that I think if you like Frida McFadden's writing, you will be obsessed with this. Or if you've read like Verity by Colleen Hoover, I think you will also really like this book, because it's about a girl who, she's been kidnapped for years. She's basically playing house with her captor. And whenever she has been there, I think it's like 12 years or something, they end up kidnapping someone else, and that person comes into the house and is like, oh yeah, we gotta get out. And she's like, no, I've like tried it, there's no way to get out. And they're like, no, it's like, we're making a way out of here. We're not gonna be here forever. So you see them try to figure out how to get away, but you also have like a little bit of spice in this book, which I feel like is very rare for thrillers, and that's why it kind of reminds me of Verity, because most thrillers don't have like spicy scenes. But this is a really, really good story, and it's super fast. I read it like really, really quick. It's less than 300 pages. And Cutthroat is another book that is very short. This is by a Black author. Love this book. If you like an unhinged story, if you are in a book slump, pick up a book by Octavia Grant. I think I've read like 5 or 6 of her books. Now, they always do have a lot of spice, and they also are completely unhinged. They're one of those, she's one of those authors where I'm like, is everything going on up here okay? Like, you good? Like, that's how I feel whenever I read her books, because they always leave me with my mouth on the floor. This book is only 175 pages, and most of her books are pretty short. Dear Vicky by Octavia Grant is another good one that I really love, but I feel like this is her newest release, and I want to like share this one because I feel like less people have read this one because it's new. But this is about a girl who, I don't want to like spoil anything, so I'm going to read the back. Okay, so the main character in this, she finds out that her husband is not who she thinks that he is, and she decides that that's not cool. Like, that is not okay with her. And I love this book. It was one of those books where I couldn't put it down. Jaw was on the floor. Another book that I think is great if you like Frida McFadden's writing, like that fast-paced popcorn thriller, but it's kind of not necessarily predictable, but it's like one of those books that isn't, like, sometimes things will happen. It's like, oh, of course I couldn't figure out that happened because you didn't give me like the things to be able to figure it out. You know, like Frida McFadden, I feel like has so many thrillers where whenever you figure out the ending, it's like, oh, well, I never could have guessed that person would be like the murderer or whatever because I never even met them, you know? This is that type of book. It is a popcorn thriller. I've read probably 6 of Sharila Pena's stories, and they're all super fast paced. They're all incredibly bingeable. I usually finish them within 24 hours. This one was really a good one. I read it, I think, 3 years ago. It's also, this author also wrote another story that was like really popular. I'm trying to think of the title, The Couple Next Door. And a lot of people read that a few years ago. But this is a story, again, that is like one of their newer releases. It's very addictive. You feel like the neighborhood is just like a regular neighborhood, and you come to find out that it's not as perfect as you would think. I'm trying to think of some other books that I've read by this author. The End of Her, Someone We Know, A Stranger in the House, An Unwanted Guest. Like, they've literally written so many books. So this is their 7th thriller, and I think I've read like probably 5 of them or 6. Not So Perfect Strangers by Ella Stratton. This is a book by a Black author. If you like to read a thriller that has a mix of like themes of race and society and like class and all of that in a book, you will really enjoy this one. This one is about there's two characters in this, and I'm gonna read the back really quick because I read this like 3 years ago and I do not want to spoil it. These two women, they decide that they're gonna help each other, and the way that they're gonna help each other is something you would not think that they would ask someone for help with, but one of them is white and one of them is black, and you're seeing that the way they navigate life is a little bit different, but it is definitely thrilling. I feel like if you like the show Get Out, this would be a good book to read. It's kind of like just like eerie, very good. Another book that is great but isn't actually in the thriller section, but honestly I think that it should be, is Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman. I've read this book only by Jennifer Hartman, and I did not know going into it would be what it is. Like, I had no idea, but this is technically in the romance section, but to me it like feels like a thriller. It's about a girl who, I don't want to spoil anything. Okay, it does say this on the back. So the main character in this, she's like always despised her sister's fiance. Like, they've been together for years and she's just like never liked him. So the main character, she ends up getting kidnapped, and he also ends up getting kidnapped along with her, and they're trying to get away from their captor. You see like a lot of the story that I feel like you don't normally see in a thriller, because they're obviously like trauma bonded. But again, this is in the romance section, so like keep that in mind. But the first half of the book is super, super fast paced. The last half of the book, you definitely, I think, have to be a romance reader to like want to enjoy this, but it is sick and twisted. Keep that in mind. If you go into this, it will literally make your stomach like just, it is, the main character is literally a madman, like, or the captor. But I really did enjoy that book. I just feel like I always recommend it, like, you know, at your own, like, be cautious when you go into it. Another book by a Black author is The Black Queen by Jumana Mill. I've not heard enough people talk about this. This is another book that I would highly, highly, highly recommend. I read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and I thought it was like okay. I feel like so many people enjoyed that book more than I did. I just thought it was fine. This is what I think that book was trying to do. I wish more people talked about this book. This is probably another one in this stack that I would highly recommend, like if you were to pick only a few. This is a story about someone who is murdered on the night of coronation, and their body was found the next morning in the old slave cemetery that she spent her weekends revitalizing. And the person who's dead is Nova Albright, who's the first Black homecoming queen at Lovett High. And you get so much in this book. Like, I was like literally scared. There's a point in this book where I'm like, oh my God, like you just, you know, you're like, are they gonna die? Like, what's gonna happen? Because one of the characters in this is trying to figure out like who murdered Nova. Like, she's the first Black homecoming queen. It's at a predominantly white school. It just had me on the edge of my seat. And again, I feel like this is what A Good Girl's Guide to Murder was trying to do. It's also a young adult book, so keep that in mind. So if you're someone who liked A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, I do think you'll really love this one. And I think you also have to kind of like want to read a story that does touch on themes of like race and like class and your place in society. So keep that in mind when you pick it up. Another book that I love that's by a Black author is Their Vicious Games by Joel Wellington. If you like the show Squid Games, you have to read this book. It gives a super similar vibe. It's about a girl who pretty much goes and does these like trials. It's literally like Squid Games, the show. She does these trials because whoever wins like the trials or gets through all of them will be able to like basically be higher esteemed in society. And she wasn't even someone who was supposed to be going through the trials, because the people who usually go through the trials are already like rich. So she already is coming into the games being like lowest on the totem pole, but it is one of those where you're like, should she trust this person who's trying to help her? Like, this person's trying to backstab her. She needs to stay away from them. Like, in games like that, like everyone is out for themselves. So it's a really good book. If you like fantasy or just like, not magical realism because there's not that in there, but if you like dystopian fantasy, you'll really love this because it gives the vibe, not the same story, but the vibe of like Hunger Games, because they're like fighting to the death. Like they're going through like mazes and like having different weapons, and like it is one of those things that is very unique because it's not like your typical thriller where it's like, you know, someone is like trying to chase after you and like you got to get away from a captor. She's like literally there on purpose, but there are people who are gonna like stab her in the back. So I really love that one. Another book that I really enjoyed was Kill for Me, Kill for You. I had so many people recommend this. I think if you're someone who likes like a detective story where, you know what I mean, like the true classic like mystery thrillers where it's like the whodunit, this is a good one. I don't want to say too much about it because I went into it kind of blind, and I'm glad that I did, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. But if you like those types of books, you'll love this. And I will say, so many of you guys recommended this book to me when I said that I wanted to try to find a 5-star thriller. I will say I did rate this highly, so I would definitely recommend it. And the last book that I want to recommend before I show you guys my TBR is Ace of Spades. And this book is so good. This, I think, is like, it's a young adult book for one, but I think it's like a more of a mystery than a thriller because, and it's kind of like thrilling, but there's someone at this school who's trying to like out the main characters in this book all their secrets. And there's 2 main characters. They go to a predominantly white school, and while they're there, they're just like, I do not want anyone to know these like specific things that are like secrets that are like hiding in my closet. And someone is letting them know, oh, I know your secrets and I will spill them. And so over time, like these little bits of their secrets come out. And so they're just trying to like keep them from sharing all of that. They're trying to figure out who this person is before they share all of their secrets. It's really good. I really love this. I read it a few years back and I would constantly recommend it. And that one is also a young adult book as well, but it doesn't really like read like it. Like I'm someone who isn't like the biggest fan of young adult books, but the ones that I've shared do not necessarily read like a typical young adult book. These are the books that are on my TBR that I want to read. And of course the first one, and these are all thrillers. I'm gonna share like my cozy fall TBR pretty soon, but I wanna share just the thrillers first. This Blood in the Water by Tiffany D. Jackson looks so good. It's her newest release, and you guys know I loved Monday's Not Coming, rated it so highly. So I feel like I really love this one as well. And this one is set at Martha's Vineyard, I think. Yeah. And there's twists, there's turns. So I'm going to read it. It also doesn't look super long either. Yeah, it's like 250 pages. Another book I want to read that's been on my TBR forever is Dear Child by Rami Hassman. So The Silent Patient is a book that I feel like a lot of people read a few years back. It's like a thriller that so many people talked about, like, and I just am trying to recommend different thrillers in this stack that I haven't recommended before. I shared a video last year with Thriller Rex. I will link it below so you guys can look at that if you want to, but I tried to like get different thrillers because I just didn't want to have the same exact ones. But this book right here, I literally was recommended this book to me by a bookseller who's in a bookstore, it's like an indie bookstore, and she was like, you need to buy this book if you like The Silent Patient because it gives that vibe. Bought it. I want to say I bought it 2 or 3 years ago and I have not read it yet, so I am hoping that I read it this fall. I don't know what it is, and it is turned into a movie too, so like I don't know why I haven't picked it up, but maybe because I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it. Like if I hear people talk about a thriller, I'll be more apt to read it or pick it up. Another book I want to read, and this is by a Black author, is We Don't Talk About Carol by Kristen L. Perry. It says a dedicated journalist unearths a generations old family secret and a connection to a string of missing girls that hits way too close to home. This is this author's debut novel, and that just looks really good. It says it's a deeply emotional story about overcoming the rot at the roots of our family trees and what we'll do for those we love. Talks about family, community secrets, and motherhood. This is right up my alley. I also have a book by Sharila Pena, and I always put a few books by this author on my like list of books to read because I don't know, they're just like popcorn thrillers. Like I'll just read them super fast, and anytime I'm like on a plane or just like want to read a book quick and maybe I'm about to fall into a book slump, these are the types of books I pick up. And I've never been in a book slump, and I feel like it's just truly because I have authors that I'm like obsessed with, and anytime I read their books, it's like mindless, they're quick, they're easy, and this author's books are like that. This is on the back it says, in this neighborhood, it's not just the husbands and wives who play games. Here, everyone in the family has something to hide. It's a suburban story, which I feel like is typically where this author's books like kind of reside. I also want to read Love You to Death by Christina Dotson. This is by a Black author, and it's their debut novel. It just came out. It's supposed to be a mix, I think, of like Thelma and Louise type of vibe, like where they're on the run, but it's like a dark comedy, and I know that one of the main characters in this is supposed to be absolutely unhinged. So I think you also have to go into this book where like knowing that one of the characters or some of the things might be unrealistic, but like I enjoy that in a thriller. Like if the main characters are doing things that feel kind of fantastical, it's like, that's why I'm reading the book. I want something thrilling. I don't want to be able to predict it. Like I want them to walk into a grocery store and maybe like do something wild. You know, I want to read about that. So I feel like this is going to be a really good book. And I also feel like when I have expectations for a book that are like the vibe of what I'm wanting to read at that time, I usually enjoy the book a little bit more. So I'll probably read that when I'm in the mood for like a messy read. I also have a book by Shanora Williams, of course, because I love her writing. This is her newest release. It says a peaceful North Carolina lakefront cottage sets the scene for this twist-filled thriller about the treacherous lies that love, friendship, and small towns can hide. It just looks good. Her books are, again, books that I always love. And another book by Tiffany D. Jackson. Her books will never get old. The Weight of Blood. This is one that I have had highly recommended to me. And I've also heard it kind of gives a vibe of Ace of Spades, which is one I already read and really loved. So, yeah, really excited to read all these. That is my TBR, and also books that you guys should read. Comment below thrillers that you've loved reading either this year or last fall. We're getting into the fall content. We're getting into the fall videos, so you're gonna get lots of fall recs coming soon, lots of fall vlogs coming soon. Again, are we in fall right now? The first day of fall doesn't technically even start until like September 20th or something, but the same goes for summer for me, because summer technically doesn't start until like end of June, and to me summer is like end of May, beginning of June. That's just like, I don't care, it's summer, that's summer. So that's how I feel about fall. So I hope you're feeling the same way, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.